Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin Christians. All right, guys, what is going on?
Obviously, you guys know I went and got my nuts clipped the other day, right? Took the plunge.
Nut clips.
Nut clips. And you guys know I wasn't feeling so great about it. And
you had some consternation leading up to it.
Who
You
doesn't?
didn't like the way it was approached to you.
but I mean, it's also like my manhood, right? Like I just had a lot of whatever. That doesn't matter. My point is, so I get this thing done. Everything went very well, like for all things considering, right? I mean, the gentle doctor, like good conversation,
Warm hands.
He did have warm hands, or at least they were numb, so I don't really know. But
But the room's cold, so
actually, their room was actually warm. They even tell you like to wear like loose fitting clothes that are like light because they keep it warm on purpose because it apparently helps everything kind of stay down.
Oh, gotcha. What was that Seinfeld episode where?
I was in the pool.
What did he call it? It's shrinkage.
But so long story short, I go to stand up and everything's going well. Like, you know, one evening when the stitches came out, I had some bleeding, but that was about it. Like, that's the worst part of the whole thing. So, but about 2 nights ago, I had these shorts on there a little bit tighter around that area, and I wasn't like really paying attention, and I went to stand up, and it like pulled.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a weird feeling, man.
And I was like, it's a weird feeling in general, but stuff down there is still not all the way together, right? Like, and so Ashley walks in, I have this bag of peas. She's like, "What the hell are you doing? I thought you were over that," right? I was like, I don't know, but I'm pretty sore right now.
I'm back at it.
I like peas now.
Well,
I'm never eating peas at your house, bro. So don't even.
Well, it's funny you say that because I actually keep trying to remember to throw those bags away.
You gotta mark them or something.
Well, they're the only 2 bags of peas in the whole house. Like, it's not.
Do not eat.
Testicle peas.
Oh boy.
Man, you remember the first time we did this in my dining room?
Yeah, Brad wasn't on it.
Yeah.
Brad wasn't there yet.
I was sitting off screen.
camera.
Yeah.
And he was just going, "I won the game, coach. I won the game." And it's just a
No,
natural.
I think he was thinking.
I was kind of like, I don't know.
I don't know about this.
See, I don't know
Yeah,
what
you
my
guys go ahead.
And now
We
we're
weren't
talking
filming
about,
yet, so.
Now we're talking about bags of peas.
Well,
It's
you
the
know.
real stuff.
That's the progress.
Do your wives make you guys mad?
Never.
Of course.
Yeah, I know yours does. Mine does too. And you know what I do? I look at my wife through a fork, and it reminds me that she's in jail, and then I'm really healed spiritually.
Nice. That's funny.
Ba-dum-bum.
We were
I
talking.
gotta have one every time.
we were talking about.
Do you research like jokes like that?
Yeah.
sometimes?
What do you?
Sometimes
nice.
they just come up. I remember jokes very well from years ago, and they just come up sometimes, and it's random. So
Nice. We were talking to my 17-year-old a couple weeks ago, and I mentioned to him, none of his friends have girlfriends right now. And I said, dude, it's kind of nice. There's no girl drama in your life right now, because a year ago everybody was breaking up and everybody was.
was your wife standing there when you
Yeah,
said
she
that?
was standing there.
Oh, not good.
So, and so he's saying, he's like, well, I'm glad I was in those relationships because I learned a lot, blah blah blah. And he goes, I feel like every girl is a lesson. And I thought
That's wise.
yeah, and I thought, well, that's the truth, but I didn't say anything. Like, there's this awkward silence, and then I glance over, and my wife is looking at me. She's got like one eyebrow up raised,
I've seen her give you that eyebrow.
and she goes, I'm waiting to see how Dad answers this. And I was like,
You're a lifelong lesson,
You're
baby.
30 years. You're 30 years of lessons.
Look at her through a fork; it'll
Yeah.
heal you spiritually, bro.
Man.
It was funny
You're
though,
in
man, because
so
he said, I
much
feel like
trouble.
every girl's a lesson. I'm like, dude, that's the truth, but I didn't say it. I thought it.
Yeah.
But it was just a funny moment because I kind of fumbled my way through, through an explanation after that. Yeah, I had some lessons in high school, but when I met your mom, I learned how to love. Lesson was over, that kind of thing. But
That's great.
This is that time of year for us here where we live. Spring break, lots of things happening. We're a little disjointed on our schedules.
Yeah.
You're going on a cruise this week. You're going to be gone next week.
Yep.
Last week you were gone.
Utah.
I was
So
gone.
how are you doing, Julie Andrews?
I can't believe you put that on.
I know, dude.
Well, Gary Miracle was the inspiration.
Of course.
He called me the day we were going to the plane, and he asked me a question, or he texted me, and I said, "Dude, I'm on a plane to Switzerland, bro." And he goes, "Oh man, you need to do the Julie Andrews scene."
Yes.
That was so
Good work.
So I looked for the right moment, and I did it.
Is that the same mountain?
Well, here's the kicker, right? And I was so proud of it that it was the most liked or reacted to post I've ever done in my life.
Yes.
I got like 20 views, seriously. But I went to our tour guide, and she's this lovely lady from Nottingham, England. And I showed her, and she cracked up. She goes, "There's only one problem." I said, "What?" She goes, "The Sound of Music was in Austria."
Oh,
You're in the wrong country. So
that makes sense.
yeah. So I just had a great conversation with our brother in Columbus, Ohio, Doug. He and that gang. He talks to me. I get so fired up. God works just over the phone when I'm talking to this guy. And I hung up from him. You know, he's in the. They have a ministry there that. And they do some fundraising through weightlifting. So much for every time you bench press
Sweet.
and things, and he's really into that. And he got me all fired up. I want to go lift 100 pounds at the gym down the street when I get done. But Doug and you guys are awesome. We appreciate you listening to us. And God has been moving the past 10 days in ways I have never seen, and how He connects. I connect the dots and realize how He is, His hands on everything. Do y'all ever just get blown away where you're walking down the street or something happens in your life, and then 24 hours later the dots connect and you go, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
That was a God thing.
That was a God thing. And we talked about providence. What was that?
Yeah.
Three podcasts ago or whatever. But
You mean no coincidence?
no coincidences,
Right.
and God's hands on everything, right? And as men, we're such fixers, and let's bone up, buckle up, and get strong, and do all this, and then sometimes I just have to stop, and I'll give you the story. Y'all ready?
Let's hear it.
We go to Orlando Airport to fly to Switzerland. My birthday trip.
Nice.
Right? The video I did on that mountaintop was on my birthday. And we were 3 hours delayed. So
I could hear the anger in your text.
oh, well, yeah. We were just all like, "Oh my gosh, we've been gearing up for this trip forever, and it's 3 hours delayed, and we fly to JFK, get off the plane to get to our connection to Zurich, and the plane's backing out, baby. The doors are locked."
Oh, that's the worst feeling.
Oh,
Don't they have to pay like 3 times your ticket? Isn't that
It was not an airline issue. It was an airport issue. So, in any case, Donna's really, tense. I'm tense. I'm trying, just trying to make sense. You're trying to work the problem in your brain. Just work the problem. Long story short, woke up Sunday morning. I thought I was gonna be waking up in Zurich.
you had to spend the night.
I woke up Sunday morning looking out in Queens.
Yeah.
Jamaica,
It was a
New
dump.
York.
It looked like a
It
dump.
was awful, man.
It's not nice.
Parking lot view.
Yeah,
By
it was
JFK?
awful.
Oh yeah, where
Yeah,
he
it
was
was
at,
right
and
next
it's not even safe.
All
most
kind
areas.
of construction, and the hotel. The people at the hotel were lovely, and it was clean. We had breakfast, and we go on. But my friend Beth, who was with us, I love Beth. She's my sister from another mister. She just made a comment to me because she could tell I was really. She goes, "Sooner or later, you're going to figure out why God had you miss this plane." Boom.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't think
Truth
of that.
bomb.
I didn't. I was.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Well, especially with Donna in your ear, man. You were trying to fix it, weren't you?
I was trying to fix everything, right? And in any case, we get on the plane to Amsterdam, and then I sat next to this gentleman named John, and for 6.5 hours, I felt it, and I looked. Beth was kind of across the way from me, and we were all scattered all over the plane, but Beth was closest, back off to my left, and I looked at her and I went, "I know why." And this guy John from Virginia Beach, ex-military, blended family, he's got a brand new baby. He was telling me about his job in defense contracting and all these things, and then he said, "But I had to take 18 months off." And I said, "Why?" And he showed me a picture of the brain tumor that was protruding
Oh,
from
my
his head
word.
like this.
Wow.
And I said, tell me about this, man. And this guy was so upbeat, so confident, so bold. And he says, but, it's been a struggle. I've kind of walked away from the church, and it's just not that important to me. It hadn't, everything else has been happening. And I was telling him about our ministry and overcoming. And I said, so tell me about that tumor's not there anymore. What's the deal? He goes, well, I've had 2 surgeries. He showed me pictures of the big horseshoe scars on the side of his head. And he's still got a little disfiguring here. And he says, well, they're able to get 40% of it. But I've got to go back into Johns Hopkins and get checked. And I said, how you feeling about that? And he goes, actually, I feel pretty good. He said, I know it could come back at any time and come on with a vengeance, but I feel pretty good. And I said, you know what? Mentally, you're exactly where you need to be. Do you understand that Christ lives in you? And you probably haven't been thinking this because of all the stuff you've been going through. And, he's got a baby and a blended family. He's got the basic, problems we all have. But you throw that on there, and I said, your feet hit the floor every day, and you get to walk in the confidence that you're forgiven, you're holy, you're justified, and you have the righteousness of Christ. So let's get there. Think about that first. And then he got a little.
How'd you know he was a believer? Did that come up, or he just?
He is from your background.
Okay.
Okay, and he talked about, I just haven't been going to mass. I haven't been going to church that much. I feel guilty about it. And I said, time out, dude. Your mind,
good for you.
Your mindset and heart set look great. Let's focus on who you are as a Christian man. And I was so moved by this guy. And then we walked out. Beth had no clue. Donna was in another part of the airplane. She had no clue. And I walked out with this brother, John, and I introduced him to Donna and Beth. And I said, look, I've always promised that I'll never look at someone that's inspired me and say, I'll pray for you. I'm going to pray for you. I said, I'd rather not walk away without praying for you right now. So we, at the top of the jetway, we circled up and prayed this prayer, and he started weeping. I started crying. The girls were crying. And we walked away, and I've got a lifelong friend. So, John, if you're listening, brother, I know he's still in Germany, but you're an amazing man, amazing brother, and I'm just so glad that God had a plan for me to miss that flight for my dream vacation. And you know what? I was 24 hours late, but I made it. And then what I saw the rest of the trip, I know was God-driven, the vistas of the Alps and all that. But that gentleman, John, was the reason why I woke up in Queens, New York that morning instead of Zurich, Switzerland. And
that's pretty cool.
That's a great story, dude.
It was amazing.
For such a time as this, bro.
I know. And guys, do we walk around? I was so caught up in the moment with the big crowd and everybody screaming at each other at the airport, and there ain't a lot of Christian love happening in that line at the ticket counter, right? There ain't a lot of that going down,
Nope.
And the tension and all that, and then boom, I got no problems. This guy's had a mass removed from his brain and hadn't been able to be the father he wanted to be and all that because he's been sick. Whoa.
And I've said this before. Something's happened at the house, and I know, Jeremy, you've traveled a lot, and you're like, I lost my phone, or I can't find my keys, and it's like 10, 15 minutes later, I got to be at such and such a place, I'm pissed off, I'm driving, and then 5 minutes up the road, there's a 5-car fatality.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the same with you. It's like, just step back.
Yeah.
And you've got to get that mindset where you go, okay, Lord, I understand that in the physical realm, this is happening, and it is pissing me off. And you get angry at people, and you take it out, and that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. But then you just got to take a step back and go, okay, well, what do you have for me? And are we in that mindset as men? Because, we're always fixers. You wanted to fix it. And you got this and, going in your ear, and you can't. But then the peace that you guys had when you prayed for this guy, you may never see this guy again. You may never talk to this gentleman again, but you're going to see him again.
I know I am, and what an amazing man he was. And I get inspired by guys like that. It's not about – there's so many men's ministries today, and I'm not slamming any men's ministry, but there seems to be so much of this macho and let's go break some boards and bust through walls and man, I want to do that too, but I can't do it anymore. I don't have the body to do all that stuff.
The Power Team. Did you ever see that?
The Power Team, yes.
Awesome.
That was great.
Yeah. They had
It served the purpose.
Shirts off.
A buddy of mine's saved because of them. There was a bodybuilder and came to see him and got saved. So
That's
great.
Man. But how many times do we get together and just say, all right, guys, the key to me being macho or masculine is knowing who I am in Christ and having my feet hit the floor every day, knowing those 4 key things. I'm forgiven, I'm holy, I'm justified, and I have righteousness. That's what manifests who we are.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
We talked a few episodes ago about playing the long game and how God's always at work. And so sometimes I had a similar experience, but it didn't quite come to completion as much as yours did. I was in Utah, and Jennifer went to a toxicology conference, and I said, I'll carry your bags. I'll find something to do during the day. So I went snowboarding for 3 days.
Imagine you getting cut loose in Utah.
are those the photos you were sending?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was up
That
in
was
Utah
gorgeous.
snowboarding. But, getting in line, I was a single rider, so you get paired up with people. Sometimes I'd get on the lift and nobody else would get on with me, or I'd get on a lift and nobody wanted to talk, or whatever it was. Well, I ended up on a lift with this dude, and we started talking, and he's like, yeah, I took a month and a half off to come up here and shred. And he's like, I'm from Florida. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm from Florida too. Whereabouts? He says, Jacksonville. I'm like, oh, my son lives in Jacksonville. And I said, we're down in Merritt Island. He goes, well, I grew up in Melbourne. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And then we talk a little bit longer, and then he says, well, I'm a nurse. I'm like, well, my son's a nurse in Jacksonville. He's like, where? I said, at Shands. He goes, I just started working at Shands.
Get out.
And I'm like, what floor? The trauma floor. I'm like, my son's like what the heck?
You're in Utah.
This was last week?
This is in Utah. And again, the chances of being paired up with this guy is just astronomical that I would end up with somebody like that, because there were times where either I would back off when people were getting on the lift, or they would back off when I got on the lift, or whatever it was. So the fact that we were both there, and so we talked, until we got to the top of the lift, and I told him my son's name. He gave me his name. I found him on Facebook, sent it to Judah, and I'm like, look out for this dude, because he's going to come back in a month, and you guys are going to probably be working on the same floor. So who knows what God is working long term. That was a piece of it, the long games. But I was just blown away by that.
Man,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It's crazy that you say that, because after the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles movie that I went through to get to Switzerland, we caught up.
I guess that was my favorite line.
Get me a car right effing now. Yeah. But
And her
we
voice.
catch up in downtown Zurich to our tour bus. And we got there. They were already gone on the tour. I didn't want to go track them down, so we went to a coffee shop, tried to wake up with some caffeine. We've been traveling all night. And then the tour group starts coming back, and this lady named Shirley walks up. Guess what she has on and what she's wearing? A Texas Tech sweatshirt.
Nice.
But she didn't graduate, though, did she?
What? Of course she did. And I told her I was going to mention.
No.
But we met these 6 women from Lubbock, Amarillo, Lufkin, Texas.
Oh my gosh.
They were awesome. And it's like I had sisters. And one of the ladies named Marka grew up in Borger, Texas, where my friend grew up. And I texted him, and she, oh yeah, I remember them. It was just connecting dots, man. God was just connecting dots, and told them about the ministry. I know they're probably listening to this thing. So my Texas sisters, thank you for making our trip amazing. We talked about God a lot with them throughout the week.
Hey, what does shred mean?
Yeah, what is shred?
Oh, it's just like going down the slopes fast, like killing it. I mean, you talk about shred with guitar, right? You play fast, you play skillfully, but the same thing with skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding. When you're shredding, it's one of those dudes that's just flying down the slopes, and he's in total control, and he's doing tricks.
Are you a shredder?
I stepped up a couple levels. I went from like a 4 to a 6 as a like an intermediate snowboarder. So I'm getting there.
Wow.
I was blowing by dudes on my last day that I was like, dude, I was you like 2 days ago. I'm like, see you later, sucker.
My fat ass ain't getting on a snowboard.
No.
I can tell you that.
Not with this body. I'd be breaking something.
I've taken enough hard hits in my life.
Oh, I bet.
I watched my brother one time. We went skiing, and I didn't ski. I had some football thing, and I was like, I can't get hurt 3 days before I fly out. One of those deals. And so I was like, I'll just hang out in the ski lodge. And my brother decided, first time ever on snow, he was going to snowboard because he obviously has all the skills. And I watched him, and he actually, I saw him pop down a couple times. The next thing you know, he's like catching some speed. I was like, this is going to be good.
This ain't going to end well.
Like, he has no idea how to stop. And I'm watching the whole thing progress down the mountain, right? Because the ski lodge is like right there. And I'm just sitting there at the bar watching. The next thing you know, he goes to like do the trick where you kind of stop, but then just goes straight out from under.
Oh, yeah.
He goes,
Boom! Down goes Frazier.
I love it.
Yeah, you catch an edge on the front or the back of the snowboard, and it's instant. You're going down, and it's not like skiing. You can kind of wobble around, and you might be able to steady yourself with your poles. Snowboarding, man, it's like instant, and it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
Whichever way you go down, man.
He was one and done down the mountain that day. I'm sure he had a concussion, to be honest with you. He was just there all glassy eyed.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Don't go to bed. But back to your guys' topics this morning. I was sitting here thinking about it. What has Christ called us to do? We're ambassadors, okay?
Yeah.
What does he call us to do? To preach the gospel, going to all the world.
Right.
Sometimes the world comes to us on a ski lift, on an airplane. And I give you guys a lot of credit for taking the time to realize what your calling is and stopping and going. Because you could have just been totally pissed off and said, you know what, I don't even want to frickin' talk to anybody on this plane.
Yeah.
You know what, Lord, I'm taking a day off. I don't want to minister. I don't want to do jack for the gospel.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
Well,
And you sowed seeds. I don't know if this guy, did you get a feeling that he was a believer?
No,
probably
I
not.
didn't know.
But, you're like, you guys took the time because you know what your purpose is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it ain't about you. It's never about us.
Right.
And it shouldn't be.
Well, when I was sitting next to John, I'd busted open my favorite book, the Gospel of Identity, and I was making some notes and I was writing some content, just trying to get triggered and write some thoughts down. And I think he saw it, and I said, "It's a great book, man. It's all about who you are in Christ." And I think that triggered some things in me. It's crazy. It was 2 days later. We were in Montreux. The mountains just start right on the lakeside, just go to 8,000 feet up. But we're at this restaurant that Susanna recommended to us, and she just said, probably won't be a lot of tourists there. I said, that's perfect.
That's perfect.
So we're sitting there eating, and I'm in Switzerland, and we're kind of close to Italy, so I order a pizza. And
Just switch it up.
And I'm sitting there. Beth is here. Donna's here. And there's a table behind me. And we're finishing up, and we're talking. I'm still kind of groggy. It's been only 48 hours into the trip. It's like 8 o'clock. It's time for me to go to bed. And Beth says, "Oh, my gosh, Trey, look over your left shoulder." So immediately what do? I looked over my right shoulder. And she goes, "No, the other left." And I looked over the left shoulder and to this lady that was right here, guys. And she was a delightful woman, probably 75, maybe a little older, or maybe 80. And the waitress put a pizza down in front of her. And it was unlike any pizza I'd ever seen. It was a full pizza, and it had mussels in the shell, clams in the shell, shrimp, scallops.
On top of the pizza?
On top. And,
still in the shell?
And calamari.
Well, that would have pissed me off.
You got to do it yourself.
But she saw me ogling her pizza, right? And I made eye contact with her. So what did Goofy Trey do?
Can I have a piece?
No, I turned my chair around and went right up next to her. And her and her friend, it was Monique and Catherine, right? And I said, "I know, I'm just a goofy American. I'm so sorry, but that pizza looks amazing." And she goes, "Would you like a bite?" I said, "No, ma'am, I just got through finished. And you guys enjoy." And I turned back around and sat down. And then 2 minutes later, there was a tap on my shoulder, and this lady, Monique, put a piece of pizza in front of me. And I just went, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "Something about you." And I went, "Really?" And my wife goes, "Yeah, I can't go anywhere without,
With him.
With him. And she goes, "Do y'all have about 30 minutes? And I said, I looked at the girls, and well, yeah, sure. She goes, "Let me finish my meal, and I would love for you to come to my home."
What?
Oh, wow.
And we got finished, and we took the walk up to her flat, private elevator to the flat, opened up this penthouse overlooking the most beautiful vista you
Wow.
could see.
Did you take pictures?
Oh, yeah, Donna did.
Okay.
And we sat down and she busted open some champagne.
Dude.
This is not a joke. This is real. And we had the most amazing conversation with the five of us, about life, about love, about politics. She's confused by our politics here.
We are too.
All she does is watch CNN.
That's to say the
Oh,
least.
that's the first mistake.
And I told her, and we said, you need to watch a wider array. But
So she's one of the 100,000 that are watching CNN.
right, exactly, in Switzerland. But then she made two comments. She said she knew I think she understood I was in the ministry, and she goes, I ran away from religion. I said,
Good.
I said, that's good, because religion killed Jesus. And she gave me this
Wow.
really weird look.
Nice.
That's
And-
awesome.
And then but then the thing that was the most powerful was she said, "Look, I've been here all my life. I love your country." I says, "It looks a little weird right now from where I'm sitting, but if it wasn't for your country, I'd probably be speaking German right now."
That's right.
And we sincerely appreciate what you do through your power and your kindness. And I love visiting your country, and I love what you did for us here in Europe.
That's cool.
I've never heard anything like that in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking up and planting the seed of God, planting who Jesus really is. And then and I could tell politically she's probably a little different than me.
Sure.
But we were able to talk about it without any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because over here in our country, it's like this all the time,
But that was a blessing for you to see, get some champagne, be able to talk. It's like, okay, Trey, you took care of this thing on the plane for me. I'm going to give you a little bit of nice little
Her
boost
name's
up here in Switzerland.
Monique. She is just a beautiful lady. She's a widow. She never had children. Don't know why, but she never had children. But her and her husband, he was like an explorer and artist.
Wow.
And their house looked like a museum. They had artwork from Thailand and India and France and we're taking pictures of everything, and then going out on that balcony overlooking the lake and the mountains. It was
Yeah, turning 40 is not looking good for me.
Is that this year?
2 weeks.
Dude.
in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, April 5th.
I
You doing
remember
anything
40.
for it?
That's the cruise.
Oh, gotcha.
So my wife just turned 40. My best friend just turned 40. I'm turning 40, and his wife's turning 40. And both of our 10-year anniversaries are within a year of each other.
No kids.
So I've only been on one cruise, and it didn't
You heard
go
about my
epic.
cruise experience.
Yeah, like I swear I'd never go again. I was like, it was cool, and at that point in time, we had no money at all. So like, it was the 3-day Carnival cruise, supposed to be the
Weekend party cruise.
good party cruise, and we got the room that was down in the basement, that type of thing, mold on
Yikes.
the wall, And so I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'd rather just fly somewhere. Your parents live in Florida. We could just stay at their house for what we paid for the cruise,
You may never know who you're going to meet on a cruise. Too,
No,
so.
I'm excited. I wasn't excited till about probably a week ago, and then
Okay.
I'm actually excited. Like today, I've decided I'm basically just throwing the world behind me for a week today.
There you go. Yeah.
But the politics thing, and I have this little thing here, and I don't know how much longer we'll be recording, so I'm going to bring it up. This works, just so we're on the same page.
And if it was
The
the
UV
last
light.
episode,
Yeah.
we're talking about the UV light,
Yeah.
indicating the
The vaccine.
vaccine.
if you have the
stuff.
vaccine
Yeah.
or not.
And it shows up on your skin.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I don't really know. I'm pretty upset about this whole thing.
Right.
But it just goes back to the divisiveness of the country, like
Right.
and just topics that we fight about all the time. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's the thing that they didn't let people know. It's like, oh, by the way, we're going to put a dye in here so that when the lights are off and we shine a UV light, your face is going to glow.
We still don't know what's in the vaccine. Every
Yeah.
other thing you see on commercial, this thing may cause this, anal seepage or whatever is going on with, I'm like, but this one,
That ain't no secret.
Some people already have
That's
that.
stuff that I don't use in my vocabulary very often.
Only thing I know is that I had no health issues prior to the vaccine. Now, I was overweight, don't get me wrong. I didn't work out as often as I should have. Had no health issues. Since I've had the vaccine, I now am on high blood pressure medicine. I had a heart monitor on 2 weeks ago, checking for a skipped
Very good.
heartbeat. Now, my EKG came back fine, so he wasn't worried about it. He's like, if you're just under a lot of stress, I was like, well, let me tell you, I'm there,
you're
right?
stressed.
well, and that could be your BP too, but
It could be,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of reasons, but I have high blood pressure. I've I'm on medicine for that now. I was taking antidepressants for the last year, which is about the time I got the vaccine. And now I glow orange under UV light. So like, I don't know, like maybe it's just the turning 40 thing. Maybe it's, I don't think 40 has anything to do with glowing orange, but like,
Yeah, I don't think. But
Well,
this doctor said that everyone he's tested that's had the vax has turned orange, and the unvaxxed, there's no color.
yeah, and we can film it up close later, but like,
Well, I think we should. Let's do it.
telling
Let's
you,
do it.
Like,
Let's do it. Let's take and see. And
Yeah,
let's set
no
the
orange on
stage.
Brad.
Let's set the stage.
You can turn those
You haven't
on?
been vaccinated.
I haven't been.
I haven't been vaccinated. You
I
haven't
haven't
been
been
vaccinated,
vaccinated.
and you have been vaccinated. So we're setting the stage. We're going to test this out. We're going to see how it works,
You gonna turn? Oh
Yeah.
and,
will.
and we're going to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the deal. If it shows up orange, you're saying if you've had the vaccine, it's going to show up orange.
Yeah, so there's this old study on rats actually where they put like UV dyes into medicine, and it's like, and so they can track it. So the theory is that the people with vaccine have this in their skin now.
Okay.
So
You have to do it on your face?
it's on your face.
Yeah, I can see it. You got little blotches here and there,
Yep, it's usually around like my nose
and on your cheeks. Mm-hmm.
Pull the thing away from you a little bit.
There it is.
I think
Wow.
Okay, now let's do Trey.
So,
Okay. All right.
you see all his liver spots, but none of his.
Thanks.
This is like a horror movie.
Dude, your eyes from the side look evil. You look like a chameleon.
Yikes.
Yeah, you're not orange.
You're not orange. You're kind of purple.
Do you again?
Clean
Do
living.
you again?
Oh yeah, look at all that.
Look at the orange that goes right here and there.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm not sure the camera does that justice or not, but
I mean,
that's
you
freaky.
can definitely see something different than you guys.
Yep.
All right, I'm
Wow.
The UV that's in all white light. Like
Right.
white light actually isn't white, by the way.
Right.
If you look at these, it's all the colors, right?
Right.
That produces white
Right.
light.
Yeah.
Black is the absence of light, right?
Right.
So, but the UV light is just one strand, one wavelength. So a camera can actually take that wavelength and filter out all the wavelengths but UV and make a room look just like you're looking under black light. So now you can go into a crowd, they're going to know who's been vaccinated, who's not through facial recognition.
Man.
All right, so we're
And you learned this from your doctor.
My doctor.
Do you know why
We're
he's
not going
doing
to
this
mention his
study?
name because I don't want him.
No, I don't want to mention his name.
I want him to stay safe.
Do you know why he's doing this study?
So he found that the study on rats that I shared with you guys,
Right.
and he's one of those guys. He's a doctor. He's researching. He's
Okay.
curious. He's a smart guy. He's researching the effects of COVID vaccines on his patients. He's kind of tracking it and watching who has health issues, who didn't have health issues. Like he's kind of doing his own little mini study, right? Or that's what it seems like. And he wasn't against it because technically against it, but he also wasn't pro-vaccine. Like I know that. And he found this study on the nanotechnology in rats, and then the applications of how it could be used within medicine and the COVID vaccine. So he started just checking. He goes, and I think it was just a more curiosity thing if it was possible. And so far, when I was there last, he was 100% people with the COVID vaccine had
100%.
100%. And I, like I said, I did it at my house. I checked Ashley. I was like, hey, come here real quick, because she got it. Because my grandmother was there with COPD, so we were very concerned.
Yeah, and I get it. We didn't know what we were dealing with
Sure.
then.
Right, we didn't know what we were dealing with, but also like I had to work, and I had to work in New York, and I had to go to these places where I could not go to work.
It was your livelihood. That's what makes me more angry than anything else
yeah.
about this whole thing.
I know guys that had very high level jobs at some very large companies in my industry that ended up getting like fired because the company took a stance. And the reason the company took the stance, because I know the CEO and I know where he stands, was because the DOD was such a big piece of their business. If they didn't take the stance, because any employee in a company associated with the DOD had to get vaccinated,
That's
otherwise
true.
they lost their contracts.
We experienced that here in our county with the big companies that do that. And I personally know someone from my neighborhood that was a higher ranking guy at one of these companies, and he walked away.
It was coming down through our company, and I was ready to go do something because I wasn't going to take it.
Yeah.
And I was so angry, but thank God Florida passed legislation where it said you can't fire somebody for not taking the vax.
I hadn't been sick. until I took the COVID vaccine. And I've been sick many times since I've taken that vaccine. And I mean, to the point where I even stopped taking my psoriasis medicine because of the it lowers your immune system. And I was like, well, maybe that's it, because I started this new, medicine. But even now, I still get sick, and I used to never get sick.
That sucks.
Well, Impact Ministries has its own lab experiment going on right here at the Riverside Studios.
And people can decide where they think that politically that stands. I mean, that's your choice. But all I'm saying is, I glow orange now. You three don't. And the
I can just see it now.
All
right.
vaccine.
We know all of you that are orange over here, you're going to go ahead and be able to eat. You, those over here that aren't orange, no food for you.
Maybe that's where we're going.
I don't know. I do not think it's the mark of the beast, though.
No, I don't either.
I don't either. We have the Pulp Fiction of podcast again today. No, we're just we're glad we're going to be probably taking off next week because a couple of us are traveling, and we'll be back in the saddle. We are 3 months away, 12 weeks from the Grace for the Family experience right here, Melbourne, Florida. Zoom in on that QR code. You can order your tickets. We're going to be celebrating dads, guys. It's Father's Day weekend. We're going to be celebrating fathers and families. We're going to have some amazing testimony from men and possibly their wives about the importance of Christ in their marriages and how people overcame marital problems and things like that. We might also have a couple of testimonies from some younger people about the importance of their dad knowing who he is in Christ to their life. So there's going to be a lot of cool things like that. We got worship by Cav Worship's going to join us. And of course, Tim's going to be speaking and motivating and hopefully just leaving a mark. Speaking of marks, we're going to leave a great mark on about 2,000 people at the King Center. So June the 13th.
Speaking of, you know how a hair-lipped dog, what it sounds like when it barks? Mark.
Okay. I don't know how you went from that.
Because you mentioned Mark. I just thought of it.
The mark.
It doesn't take much, man.
Doesn't take much.
Fridays, everybody, we're just like ready for the weekend. Like it's just pent up aggression and just silliness. I love it.
I also want to just give a teaser. September 5th. And I want you to write into that box, September 5th, Gainesville, Florida. In about 2 weeks, we're going to have something really cool we're going to announce about what's happening with Impact Ministries in Gainesville, Florida. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Cool.
Because you and I are going to be traveling up there this next week and crossing the T's and dotting the I's on something that's going to be pretty amazing for our ministry. And hopefully we'll leave a mark at a college campus.
Nobody makes Michael laugh more than Michael.
I know. He's his own biggest fan on jokes.
I love it. And I love when he leaves it wide open for me to just say something
Yeah.
appropriate.
It's good.
So we learned a lot today. We learned about travels. We learned about how God operates through adversity. We learned about how people can come together. We learned about reuniting with old friends and connecting the dots with family. We learned about orange and a blue light and medical experiment. We
Dogs going to heaven.
we like dogs going to heaven and dogs talking with lisps.
No, hair lip.
Hair lip. And
I had the lisp.
Yeah.
What would a dog bark with a lisp sound like?
I don't know, because there's no S's in, but
Rough.
rough.
I'm quitting on that one.
Dude,
I'm
we gotta
Trey.
I'm Michael.
I'm Brad.
I'm Jeremy.
We are the Cussin.
Cussin Christians.
Dude, you said that guy went to Johns Hopkins? Who names their kid Johns?
Oh, yeah,
What kind of
really?
name
Ray.
is Johns?
Or is that a last name? Is it Johns
I don't know.
Hopkins?
I always thought it was John Hopkins, but they just named their kid Johns. Like Trey's
Did I
after.
say it wrong?
No, it is
Johns.
Johns
Johns.
Hopkins.
Plural.
We'll have to figure that out.
So,
Jeremy's
who
on
names
it.
their kids Johns?
I'm going to ask.
That
I've
makes
got
sense.
dinner next week with a friend of mine that graduated from Johns Hopkins.
He'll know.